All right. Praise the Lord, brothers and sisters out there. We want to thank God for another opportunity to come before his presence and learn of him. And tonight we thank God that our own Deacon Chris Tofi, all the way from Dallas, Texas, is once again on the line with us to continue part 2 of our financial seminar, specifically the CARE Act, which has to do with the stimulus package. This is another time that we have an opportunity to ask questions regarding our businesses and our individual packages that we may be entitled to under the CARE Act. So with that said, I want to offer a word of prayer, and I'll hand over to our Deacon Christophe to continue from there. Father, we thank you for this evening. We pray and bless your name, O God, for bringing us together. Give us illumination, give us enlightenment, give us wisdom, that at the end of the day, we'll be able to organize our lives here the way we ought to. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Please, you can take over, Deacon Chris.
Yeah. All right. Once again, I would like to thank you all for joining us this time. It is a very great privilege to be with you another time, and I hope that the Lord will lead us to learn something tonight. Amen. Can you please see my screen? Let me make sure that you can all see my screen.
The screen is currently black.
The screen is currently black?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay, let me make sure that you can see. All right. Okay. Can you all see now?
Yes.
Can you all see the screen now?
Yes.
All right, great. So just as our pastor said, we are going to continue our studies about the CARES Act. We shall be looking at some of the issues regarding the stimulus check. So we encourage you, whatever your question may be, you want to write it down so that during the question time, you will be able to ask. Then we will look into some of the provisions in the CARES Act and how we can benefit from it. Then also unemployment benefits, both from the state and federal government. Then also business, nonprofit, loans and grants, and how you and I can access these loans. But before we move on, I have a couple of scriptures that I want to share with you. One is from 1 Chronicles 12:32. From the tribe of Issachar, there were 200 leaders and of the tribe with their relatives. And the scripture makes very interesting statement. It says that all these men, all these 200 leaders, they understood the signs of the times and knew the best course for Israel to take. In other words, for you and I to know the right channel, the right path to take in a time such as this, we have to understand the signs. We have to understand the times, the seasons that we are in, what government has put in place. If we are not knowledgeable about the things, the provisions, the resources that government has put in place, we won't be able to take the best course of action. So we want to be like the sons of Issachar, who understood the times and the season that they were in. Another scripture that I want to give it to you for us to hang our hearts on is Joshua 1:8. Joshua 1:8. Now, if you read it, this is instructions that God was giving to Joshua after Moses has died and Joshua now taking over the children of Israel to the promised land. Now look at what God is saying. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. All right. By the way, I underline some of the phrases, not because I want this PowerPoint to look good, but because you will pay, so that you and I will pay particular attention to some of these phrases. So God was telling Joshua that, hey, in order for you to be successful, you want to make sure that this law that has been put in place, you want to meditate on it day and night. Some of us are going to be like, you have already done this, you have already gone over this, why are we going over it again? Well, look at what God was telling Joshua. Meditate on it, not just a day, meditate on it, not just a night, but every single day, every single night. Then you will be careful to do. So once you meditate on it, number one, you will be knowledgeable. You will know exactly what are in it. Then you do. then you will be what? Prosperous and successful. Every single person on this planet wants to be prosperous and successful. There's no one who doesn't want to be successful. Now look at the equation. Look at the steps that God has given. Some of us, we want to just reap the success, but we don't want to go through the process. When we have that kind of mentality, mindset, we only deceive ourselves. So if you really want to reap or manifest the blessings and the success that God has given us, promised us, now we have to follow the systematic process that He Himself has established. Number one, you have to know it, and you're going to know it by heart. Knowing it by heart means repetition, repetition over and over and over and over and over and over until it becomes natural with us. So until it becomes natural, we shouldn't stop. So I will encourage that this time or this section will not be the last section, but you will continue after this session. You will continue to seek more knowledge. You continue to seek more support, more resources about these things so that they will help you. Once you know it, now you do. Again, success comes by doing. Success, that's why I'm so impressed about what Pastor has been doing with your district. And I hope and pray that it will cut across all districts. We have to know it and we have to do. It is the doing that produces results. It is the doing that manifests the blessings. The saying, affirmation, and all that you shout don't produce anything. It is the action that you take. Peter has to cast his net. The widow at the wedding at Cana, they have to fill the jar with water. It's the action that we take that will produce results. So my encouragement to you all is that as we go through these sections, as we go through the materials, you will take action of these things that we are going to cover. Now let's move on into what I call the 6 pillars of wealth. Before we get into the CARES Act, let me first of all remind you of the 6 pillars of building wealth. Some of us, we have been frightening with the fact that the stimulus check has been delaying or the unemployment benefit has been delaying. And we are now shaking, complaining with all kinds of words. You see, there are some people that don't even care. They don't even think about stimulus check or they don't even think about the unemployment benefits. Among the reasons is because they prepared so well. They prepared so well. And they took their finances so seriously. And by the time they got to 2020, they were already in great shape without needing any kind of paycheck, without needing any kind of support. So when this pandemic hit, they were well over or above the financial needs, so they didn't have to wait on the government. So my appeal to all of us is that I'm bringing this to your attention so that we will not you will take a lesson from this pandemic and not be taken by a surprise, not be taken by a shock. Because if you don't take a lesson, if you don't pick a lesson, what has happened right now, Solomon told us that what has happened and is happening will happen again. There is nothing new under the sun. This pandemic, this hardship, these difficulties is not going to be the last time. I'm telling you, for this one, I can be a prophet. There is going to be another hard time, hardship, financial difficulties. And the way to overcome it is making sure that we have the right measures to take the right measures in place. So my goal of sharing with you these 6 pillars of golden wealth, for the sake of time, I won't go in depth, but rather to make you be aware of it. So these are the major expenses or the major pillars that play a role when it comes to finances. Until we properly arrange these 6 major pillars, spending, saving, investing, bad debt, emergency fund, protection, until we have consciously rearranged them in order of priority and making sure that we are attending and fulfilling the demands of each one appropriately and wisely, you and I will always be in shock in a situation such as this. Now, when it comes to finances, we only have 2 kinds of mentality. We have the poverty mindset and we have the wealth mindset. So let's look at the poverty mindset. All that the poverty mindset thinks about is spending. They spend and spend and spend and spend and spend and spend and spend. They have no idea, or they have thousands of excuses why they cannot save. The poverty mindset has thousands of excuses why he or she cannot invest, why he or he cannot get some protection, some emergency fund in place. and they spend and spend and spend. And I pray that this poverty mindset will not be found in our community. Now let's look at the wealthy mindset. And this is the mindset that I encourage you all to develop. It's the right mindset that if we really want to create wealth, that we wouldn't be taken by a surprise in the next pandemic or in the next financial difficulties. These are the things that wealthy people follow. Protection. You want to make sure that you have protection in place. What are you talking about? I know that in our community, protection means having right insurance in place. I know that in our community, we hate to hear about insurance. We are allergic to life insurance. Well, our hatred, the fact that we hate it, the fact that we don't want to hear about it, does not diminish its significance. The fact that we don't like to talk about life insurance does not mean that it diminishes the importance of it. So just like a vehicle, once you get a vehicle from a dealer, the last thing that they make sure that you have in place before they hand over the key to you is making sure that you have what? Insurance. Even the house that you live in, your bank that financed the house wouldn't let you move into the house unless you have insurance. If I were to be God, I wouldn't have allowed any human being to enter into this planet without without the parents making sure that there is a life insurance in place for that child. If we don't get access to our vehicle, our homes without insurance, we shouldn't have gotten access to tomorrow without insurance in place. And I hope that we will learn a lesson. The next thing you want to do, you want to make sure that you have in place is investment. Putting the right investment account in place. Why do we have to invest? Because you don't want to exchange our time and strength and life for money. The earlier you start investing, the sooner you can retire from work. The earlier you start to put money into the right investment account, the sooner you can stop exchanging your time and strength for money. So the whole goal, the whole purpose of investment is so that I would not exchange my time and strength for money. The purpose of investment is so that I wouldn't exchange my life for money, but rather money will be the one working for me. Money will be the one that will bring in the income and not my strength to bring in the income. Then the next thing is emergency fund. Emergency fund. When I hear people complaining, when I see funders complaining, it tells me that they didn't even have emergency fund in place. This also boils down to even companies, businesses, and including churches. If your organization, if your ministry, if your business is struggling at this time, it means you did not put emergency fund or contingency fund, contingency account in place. And what do we have to do in a situation like this? It is now that we need to reflect and pick up some lessons. Remember, scripture tells us that as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest time will never cease. Summer and winter will never cease. Hardship, difficulties, and good time will never cease. Therefore, if you are having financial difficulties, if you are having a hard time, you want to know that, or you want to remind yourself that a good time is on the way coming. So you have to make sure that you act like an ant who use the summer to prepare for winter and use the winter to prepare for summer. So it's encouragement that we will pick a lesson from this pandemic that we are in to put in place the right emergency account. I wish I can get time to get into it much deeper to show you how you can set up emergency fund. Now, the next thing is bad debt. Is bad debt. Dealing with bad debt effectively is one of the ways that will help you to set you financially free. There are two types of bad debt. We have good debt and bad debt. Those of you who have just joined us, this is the Church of Pentecost Boston District. We are going over the pandemic. The focus of today's presentation is about the provisions in the CARES Act. But before we move on, we want to make sure that we have established the right mindset so that a year or another pandemic, we wouldn't be shaking and we'll be waiting for stimulus check. My prayer to all of you hearing me this hour is that a time will come that we wouldn't have to expect the government money in order to pay our bills. A time will come that we wouldn't have to be looking for unemployment benefit in order to put food on the table, but rather you will live above the poverty line. You will live above the poverty line where we are able to sponsor the needs of our family, the financial needs of our children. this is the lifestyle that we all want to manifest. Because why? It is our promise from our Father that we will be a lender. We will be in a position, not be in need to always be seeking, but rather to be the resource that we will provide. So in order to achieve that, is able to control the debt in our life. The next thing is come to savings, then spending. Now, if you look at the pyramid, you see where I put the spending. You see where I put the spending? In other words, the first lesson I'm going to give it to you before we move on is that spending should be the last thing to think about. When you get your paycheck, the first thing that you want to do is to make sure that you have a chunk of it, a percentage of it, taking care of the bottom 5. Before the leftover then will be the spending. The leftover then will be the spending. Now, most of us, what we do is that we spend first, then we try to save, and it doesn't happen. We spend first, then we try to save, then it doesn't happen. Now, when it comes to investment, you always want to make sure that the first investment is your spiritual life. It's your spiritual life. The second investment is your future. So this is what we teach. You put 10% in the things of God, then 10% into your future. And that 10% that you're putting into your future investment account, that 10% is going to yield to multiply several folds. And that is why we create the abundance life to cause you to be a lender. And now you become what? The one that supports, that sponsors church activities, businesses, or the activities that goes on in your community. Anyway, let's move on into the focus of tonight's section. But this is what I pray for, that you will grasp this mindset and transition it, pass it on to your children so that they will have a better financial life than what you and I are having right now. All right, good. Now let's move on. The CARES Act. The CARES Act stands for Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. We are going to do a quick recap from last week. Then we will get into, but each one I will try to dig a little deeper. So it's going to be not really a repetition, but a little deeper from what we learned last time. All right, good. Again, I encourage you all, if something comes up in your mind, please write it down. During the question time, you'll be able to ask. So the CARES Act was divided in several sections, was passed on March 27th, 2020. Divided into several sections. Section 1102 of that CARES Act talks about the PPP, loans and grants. Loans and grants. And the loans are divided into 2. 1, payroll protection plan or payroll protection program. And loan number 2, economic injury disaster loan or EIDL. So these are the 2 types of loans that are available for we all to apply, especially for those in businesses, nonprofit organization. If you are in business, nonprofit organization, you have these loans or grants that you can apply. Now let's look at who can apply. All businesses in business as of February 15th, 2020, with less than 500 employees. As long as you were in business as of February 15th, with less than 500 employees, you are eligible to apply. Now, remember, all businesses means if you are a Uber driver, if you braid hair, if you drive truck, if you are a barber, if you are a seamstress, you are also in business. You are also in business. So please don't diminish yourself. Know yourself that you have as much right as McDonald's. You have as much right as Starbucks. So you can also apply for these loans. Now, the next thing is 501c3 nonprofit organizations. So if you're a nonprofit organization, you have all these tribal associations that we have, such as Infante Association or Chiagan Association, all these tribal associations, even including churches. We are eligible to apply for these loans. And self-employed individuals, independent contractors, sole proprietorship, they are all eligible, including the EIDL as well. As a matter of fact, EIDL is one of the easiest loan applications for for self-employed or independent contractors and sole proprietorship. That one is much, much easier. So I encourage you all to consider putting application for that. Now, the loan amount when it comes to PPP is 2.5 times the average monthly payroll of your up to 10 million. When it comes to EIDL, it's up to 2 million. or based on the injury or how COVID-19 has affected you. Now, the next thing is the interest rate. When it comes to PPP, 4% cap, that's the maximum that you can pay on the loan. And the charge will be about 1%, that will be the cap, the lender that processed the loan. When it comes to EIDL, it's 3.75 for businesses and 2.75 for non-profit organizations. All right, good. Now, the application process for the PPP, you can apply it through your local bank or approved SBA lenders. They can process it for you. For economic injury disaster loan, EIDL, you can go straight to SBA website and you can apply it over there. And another thing, they check for credit. So you want to make sure that your credit also is in good shape. One of the things that we do is to building and repairing of credit. I will talk about it once we get over to the other section of the CARES Act. Now, the forgiveness. How does this loan become a grant? How does it become a grant? How does it become forgiving? On the PPP, as long as you use 75% of the loan within the first 8 weeks that the loan that you receive the money, if you use it to cover payroll costs, payroll expenses, then the money becomes forgiven. You don't have to pay it back. Under EIDL, they give up to $10,000. So and it's by employee. Each employee is entitled to $1,000. So that $10,000 becomes a grant. Now, also the main requirement, you want to make sure that for PPP, you have your 940 annual payroll statement in place, and also 941 employers' quarterly returns also completed. That will help you to grant you for the money. Or you have your 2019 payroll report and also a voided check where the money needs to be spent or where the money needs to go. Now, when it comes to economic injury disaster, if you have to get your EIN number, especially if you are LLC, if you are non-profit, if you are self-employed or sole proprietor, you can just use your social security number. That should be fine. You're gonna need your business number, and also you will need your annual revenue and your annual cost. The timeline for the PPP is up to June 30th, and whilst the economic injury disaster will go on to December 31st. Now, the long term with the PPP, you have 2 years to pay if you don't get it forgiven. By the first 6 months, you will defer the payment. You don't have to pay the first 6 months. The same thing with the EIDL, the first 6 months, you don't have to pay, and you will have 30 years, a longer time to pay the loan back. All right, so how to apply? You go to your local bank, PPP, or approved lender. Economic injury disaster loan, you go to SBA website. All right, good. Now, this is what they look behind the scene. That sometimes they don't tell us. They look for what I call 3 C's. They look at your cash flow, they look at your credit, and they look at collateral. But for PPP, they are not actually much concerned about it other than what you have been making and paying of employees. On the EIDL, they are going to look at your credit. So the credit is going to be the main focus. Whilst PPP, they look at the cash flow and how you have been paying the employees. So this is a quick overview about the business loans and grants. Now let's move on into the CARES Act of the unemployment, where many of us are struggling. All right, good. Just as I said earlier on about the CARES Act being divided into several sections, section 2102 up to 7 of the CARES Act deal particularly about unemployment benefits. Now, let me say a few things about unemployment. In 1935, the Social Security Administration passed this bill, unemployment benefits or unemployment insurance, encouraging all the 50 states to adopt it. And the way that it works is, whilst you are employed, your employer pays payroll taxes on your behalf into the state coffers. All right, good. And in the event that you lose a job as a result of not your own, and you are able, you are willing, you are available to work full-time, then you can apply for this insurance benefit and the state will pay you. All right, good. So when it was approved by Social Security Administration, it was pushed and encouraged by all the 50 states. So all the 50 states adopted it because it was something good. Now, remember, the whole idea or logic is for employer to contribute on your behalf, pay taxes on your behalf so that you can claim. Therefore, was only meant to be for people with W-2 jobs or workers who have employers. Traditionally, if you didn't have employer, if you are self-employed, if you are independent contractor, you are not eligible. But when the CARES Act was passed, Section 2102 gives 3 different extensions to this unemployment insurance. The first one is the extension of eligibility. Extension of eligibility. Basically, the eligibility has now extended to self-employed workers, to independent workers, to sole proprietors. So if you now drive Uber, you are eligible. If you braid hair, you are eligible. If you are independent contractor, you are now eligible to apply for unemployment benefit. And as a matter of fact, the name that they call it is pandemic unemployment assistance. I will talk more about it later in this section. Pandemic unemployment assistance, giving you the eligibility. Now, the next extension is the timeline. When 1995, when the act was passed, when the bill was passed, Social Security Administration gave each state the right to determine how long that they will be paying this benefit to employers or to employees who lose job as a result of not their own or cause of not their own. So each state determined its number of weeks. The state of Georgia is about 14 weeks. The state of Michigan, about 20 weeks. The state of Massachusetts, 26 weeks. Therefore, if you are in Massachusetts and you get approved for this unemployment benefit, you are to receive it up to 26 weeks. Now, when the CARES Act was passed, it gave extension of additional 13 weeks. So you are no longer going to receive 26 weeks, but rather up to 39 weeks, because the federal government has added additional 13 weeks to it. Now, let me add this. As we are speaking right now, the Senate are voting on a new bill called the $3 trillion bill, called HEROES bill. And in that bill has already passed the Democrat Congress. So now it's at the final stage that the Senate, Republicans control Senate, are now voting on it. And if they don't water it down, they don't do anything to what Democrats have proposed, it means you are going to receive this unemployment benefit up to 2021. All right, good. So that is what is in the bill right now. By the end of the day, we will know what the Republicans do. Either they compromise or they adjust it. Nobody knows about it yet. By tomorrow, we will know what the voting has, the outcome of that voting. All right, good. The next one is the additional amount. Additional amount. So the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or the CARES Act, adds additional amount to whatever that the state will give you. So just as each state determines the maximum amount to pay, each state also, the maximum timeline to pay, each state also determines the maximum, how much that they should pay you. In the state of Massachusetts, for individual, the maximum amount that you can earn is $823. Texas, where I am, is $521. Florida is up to $272. The state of Massachusetts, as a matter of fact, when I did my research, your state pays the highest unemployment benefit than all the 50 states. So individual can receive up to $823 a week. And if you are dependent, you can make as much as $1,234 a week. Now, the CARES Act adds additional $600 to it. So let's say you are in Boston, you are in Massachusetts, you get approved for the maximum unemployment benefit that the state of Massachusetts allows. All right, so $823, boom. The federal government will automatically add $600 to it, making it about $1,423 that you will receive every week. So if you look at it, 4 months, you are talking about 4 weeks. A month, you are talking about over $5,000 that you will get. All right, good. So these are the unemployment benefits. We will pick up some of the issues that you have been having with this application. So I'm gonna quickly show you the chart on how it works. So basically, either you are traditional employee, traditional worker with W-2, or non-traditional worker, you lost your job because of COVID-19, you are no longer able to get workers or able to run your business, you all go to the state website called mass.gov, you apply unemployment benefit over there. So once you apply for unemployment benefit, two things that could happen: either you get approved or denied. Once you get approved, you'll automatically wait for the $600 that will be added to the amount that you have been approved for, and you receive it up to 39 weeks as at now, up to 39 weeks. When the new bill gets approved, it's going to be extended up to the end of year or early 2021. If you get denied, then you apply for pandemic unemployment assistance. Pandemic unemployment assistance. There are some states that encourage that individual will first apply for the regular unemployment assistance before they apply for the pandemic. In the state of Massachusetts, you can just jump in and apply for pandemic unemployment assistance. But you want to make sure that you have your documents ready. Now, let's look at some of the things that they consider to be eligible for pandemic unemployment assistance. First of all, if you are unable to start your new job because of COVID-19, it makes you eligible to apply for the pandemic unemployment assistance. Or you are a Uber driver, whatever, that you are not able to get to business because of the pandemic, because of the quarantine, it makes you eligible. And even if you are a parent, your children are not able to go to school because school has to close down because of the pandemic, you are eligible to apply. All right, good. Now, let me go over the next section of the CARES Act. This is where we're going to get much deeper. So Section 2202 of the CARES Act gives us another provision on what to do with our retirement account, such as 401k, 403b, IRA, TSP. I've received the retirement account, especially 401k, is the second problems that I have received. Yeah, when it comes to problems that people have been complaining, talking about, the first one is the unemployment benefits. The second one is what to do with their 401k account. People are crying with all kinds of complaints because of the fact that they have lost so much money from their 401k account. Well, government has put in provisions for you and I on what we can do. So Section 2202 of the CARES Act gives us several provisions. Number one, penalty-free withdrawal. So your 401k account, now you can withdraw any money out of it without worrying about the penalty, the 10% penalty. Traditionally, until you are 59, you have to pay a 10% penalty when you withdraw your money. But with COVID-19 pandemic, you don't have to worry about this 10%. This 10% has been waived throughout 2020. So throughout the entire year, you can withdraw your money without worrying about the 10% penalty. The next one is the 3 years to pay the taxes. Usually, the contribution that we are making into our 401k account, IRA account, they are pre-tax. Government has not taken its taxes yet. So anytime you withdraw the money, you pay the taxes the following year. All right, good. Now, because of this situation, pandemic that we find ourselves in, you are able to extend the taxes up to 3 years. In other words, you don't have to pay the taxes all one time or lump sum, but rather you can spread it up to 3 years. I think that is a good thing. And the next thing is the recontribution of the withdrawn amount above the limit. The 401k, for example, has about $19,500, the limit that you can contribute. All right. Now, with this pandemic, you are now can recontribute whatever amount that you withdraw. Let's say you withdraw $50,000 from your 401k account to do business, and for some reason the business didn't go well. Well, you can come back and put in that $50,000 back into the 401k account without worrying about the limit. So that is also another opportunity you to try to experiment to do something with your money. If it doesn't go well, now you come. The next thing is 100% withdrawal or up to $100,000. traditionally, the maximum that you could withdraw from your 401k account is $50,000. You could not go more than $50,000. Now, with this pandemic, you can now withdraw up to $100,000 or up to 100% of your money. If you have $50,000 in there, you can take all of them. Now, let me sound this question. Please and please, I am not saying go and withdraw your 401k. My job as a teacher, my responsibility, my task as a teacher is so that you will know what is you will know the provisions that are in place. You will know the options that are in place. You will know what you need to do. So instead of getting frustrated about your 401k going down in value, you can just take advantage of these provisions. You can just take advantage of the CARES Act and do something with it. So among the questions that I've been getting all the time is, should I withdraw the money from the 401k account or should I leave it in there? Well, this is where you really need to sit down with a financial professional to access your risk tolerance, to access your goal, to access your objective, because there are some reasons that we recommend withdrawing the 401k account for that reason. And there are some situations or circumstances or reasons that we don't recommend it. For example, taking money from your 401k to organize a funeral, taking money from your 401k to organize party or wedding, that kind of thing. You're gonna think about it twice. Now, if you are really, you really want to find some wise way or effective way on what to do with your 401k account, taking advantage of these provisions, are able to withdraw without a penalty, able to withdraw up to $100,000. These are some of the, I've put together about 3 different ways that you can think about when you ask yourself, should I withdraw my 401k account? Should I withdraw my money from my 401k account? So number 1, you can think about value preservation. Value preservation. So one thing is that the market is on a free fall. And you all don't know when it's going to get back up. So if you have, let's say, $50,000, instead of sitting down there to lose it, if you are frightened about the fact that you are going to lose your 401k, all your money, think about preserving its value. Preserving its value means you take it from that account and you put it into a different account where the value is preserved, where you don't lose the value at all. So that is one of the ways that, and I think that value preservation is better than losing of value. Instead of losing its value, if there is an account that can help me to preserve the value, then I can consider putting into that account. The second thing that you can do is debt and credit building. Debt and credit building is opportunity for you and I to think about. Now that I've been given the permission to withdraw my 401k account without penalty, without paying any, you consider about what paying off the debt and building your credit will do for you. I can't wait to talk about credit. You all know, unless you are a foreigner in America, unless you just arrived in America, but if you have been in America for about a year old, nobody should tell you that credit is crucial. It is, as a matter of fact, almost impossible to make it here in America without some degree of credit. So if you want to take advantage to pay off some of the debt and build credit to let that credit create wealth, this is opportunity for you. As a matter of fact, there is no easy way to achieve financial freedom than credit. Credit is the easiest, is the fastest way to achieve financial freedom. I will talk more about it when you get to that side. Now, the third thing that you can also think about is business and investment. Sorry about the typo. You think about business and investment. So if I have $50,000 in my 401k account, instead of allowing it for all of it to just be gone by the fall of the market or lose all of them by the fall of the market, you think more about business, you think more about investments. There are different types of investments that are still growing right now, that people are still using it to make money. You can think about real estate. Now that the market has fallen so much, now that the value of houses have gone down, it's a good investment vehicle. You can think about index investment. You can think about bonds. They are all available for us that we can make money. If you have business, this is opportunity for you to revitalize your business, to revive it and make it grow. So if you are thinking about, should I withdraw my 401k account or my 401k money, my IRA, my TSP, my 403b, these are some of the things that you want to think about. And if these things don't give you a clear vision, don't give you, you don't see the clarity or the possibility of making more money than leaving the money stay in your account, well, you can just leave it to allow the money to stay in the account. And again, my goal is for you to be aware of what you can do with your money. So whichever that you want to do is completely up to you. I am not saying that go and withdraw it, but if you decide to withdraw, these are some of the good things, great things, or wise ways that you can use the 401k for. And the good thing is that if you start with any of these three, and along the way, you realize that, no, things are not going the way that I was expecting, you have the opportunity to put back the money without worrying about the limit. So I think this is a great opportunity. All right, good. Now, with the interest, these are some of the investment vehicles that you can put your money in. The last time I went through it, is good to revisit it to make sure that our people are aware of it. There are three strategies in which all investments grow. Every investment grows. There are three ways in which they all grow. The first is the phased interest crediting strategy. So with a fixed interest crediting strategy, you don't lose money at all. You are guaranteed a fixed rate. Examples are savings, bonds, and CDs. So if you want to preserve the value of your money, 401k money, you can put it into a fixed interest crediting account, and that will preserve its value against the fall of the market. So if you don't know what to do, this is one of the investment vehicles, CDs or bonds. Another is the variable. The variable is where you have your 401k, 403b, TSP, mutual funds. The way that it works is upward potential for growth and limitless potential, limitless risk of losing money. Meaning that you can make so much money when things are going well, you can lose so much when things are going bad, if not all. So among the reasons why we are losing so much money in our 401k account is because the 401k account operates on variable interest crediting strategy. So if you are crying about why am I losing my money in 401k, it's because it operates here. The third one is the index. With the index, you have upward potential of making money, and you have a minimum guarantee rate that prevents you from losing money. So the minimum guarantee rate prevents you from losing money. You don't lose money at all. And the money keeps growing, 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 growing. Example of these accounts are IUL, VUL, and some special life policies that are also available for all of us. In other words, you see, what rich people do is they spread, they diversify, allocate their funds into all these three categories, all these three investment vehicles. But the poverty mindset, the middle class only thinks about 401k, that's it. All that he knows is about 401k, and he's not open to any other investment vehicle. So unfortunately, when the pandemic hit, they started crying. But the wealth mindset who understands these things opened an index account, for example, and shifted the money into it. So as soon as the market started to decline, what the rich people, what they did was they shifted their money into an index account where they are protected from the fall of the market, but they have a significant growth, potential growth, and they can make as high as 14%. 40%, and even as low as 0.25% when the market crash. So this is also available for all of us. Another way that you use this is You all know emergency fund, short-term investment, and long-term investment. So when you think about short-term investment or emergency, when you think about emergency fund, you can think more about using a phased investment vehicle account. With a phased investment vehicle account, your money can act as emergency fund. You put money in CDs or savings account so that in the event the dishwasher or the dryer goes off, you can take money out of it and get it fixed. In the event the vehicle breaks down, you can go into your savings and take money out of it. Now, the variable income becomes your short-term investment that you play around the stocks and see how it will go. But you can also use mutual funds and build it in a way that it can be a long-term investment. Likewise, index strategy. As a matter of fact, index investment vehicle is one of the best products when it comes to long-term investment. Long-term investment is the #1 recommendation for index crediting strategy. Again, these are all available for all of us. Before COVID-19, all that we knew was just 401k. All that you knew was just variable investment account. Well, COVID-19 gives us another opportunity to think about the alternatives, to think about other options, to consider how other options can help you to avoid losing money. So I encourage you to think more about how you can diversify your money so that you'll be protected against the fall of the market. All right, good. Now let's look at, I'm gonna skip this one and move on into, because for the sake of time, to give you life insurance. All right, good. Choosing the right life insurance. This is very important. Why? As we learn from the beginning, from the 6 major pillars, the first one starts with protection. The first one starts with protection. Again, it does not matter your opinion, your thought, I've sat down with people, and some people have made statements such as life insurance has an evil spirit in it, and once you get it, you die sooner. So people have been sharing all these kinds of opinion. Among the reasons is because we have not been taught very well about the life insurance. And let me share this story. Just beginning of the year, I think it was actually January, beginning of the year, a client called me that he wanted to cancel his life insurance. So the wife spoke to him over and over, but the man wouldn't listen. So just last month, the man called the company and canceled the life insurance policy. Now, unfortunately, the man got diagnosed with COVID-19 and he lost his life, leaving the family without protection because he canceled that life insurance that he had in place, that the family had in place, all because of financial difficulties. Now, if he had followed some of these teachings, he would have known what to do in the event of financial difficulties. So my goal to show you this is, if you have life insurance in place, you want to make sure that you are aware of some of the things that you need to do. And when financial difficulties hit, so that you don't just take frustration, cancel the policy. And this is what happened. Let me share this with you. Every insurance, it doesn't matter, even vehicle, auto insurance, just as auto insurance has a grace period, life insurance also has a grace period. And the grace period is usually 30 days. But because of COVID-19, most companies have extended the grace period to 120 days. Now, in order for you to benefit from this grace period, you have to bring it to the awareness of the company, or you pass it through the agent. Among the reasons why we recommend that you talk to your agent before you cancel life insurance policy is some of these benefits. Imagine if the man didn't call the company directly, but has passed it through an agent. The agent would have coached the man to hold on to the, to use the grace period. What will happen is, as a matter of fact, in my case, if anyone is having financial difficulties and wants to cancel his or her life insurance policy, which means after I talk to her over and over, and he insists to cancel the policy, what I do is I usually call the company and suspend the automatic payment so that there wouldn't be any money drafting from his account, but rather he will still have the coverage, have the grace period. In other words, if this man had called an agent, so the agent would have suspended the payment from his account. I would have suspended the payment from his account, and he will still have the grace period so that after he had passed, God forbid, may his soul rest in perfect peace, the family would have still gotten the life insurance amount. All that I'm trying to say is that when you call the insurance company, life insurance company, that you want to cancel your life insurance, they will cancel it on the spot and you will lose the grace period. So I encourage you to exercise patience and work through your agent, the agent that you have. All right, good. So these are some of the minimum questions that you want to ask yourself when it comes to choosing the right or appropriate life insurance. There are two types of life insurance. Two types. You have term life and permanent life. Term life insurance and permanent life insurance. The permanent life insurance is divided into two: whole life insurance and universal life insurance. Now, when you are choosing the appropriate life insurance, you want to ask yourself these minimum questions. They are only minimum. And if you don't ask these minimum questions, you will be short-cutted. You will lose the benefit. You wouldn't have the opportunity to reap some of the great benefits that are built into other products. So my goal is for you to be aware of these things. So number one, you ask yourself about duration. How long do I want the life insurance? Do I want it for just a short time? That is term life. You can get it for 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years. Whole life is your entire life. Universal life is your entire life. So they both work as a permanent. Basically, they last up to age 120 years. Then since nobody lives to be 120 years, we classify them to be permanent life insurance. All right, good. Another question that you want to ask yourself is about the death benefit. Is this life insurance amount 200,000, 500,000? Is it guaranteed that my parents, my family will get after I transition? Well, when it comes to term life, it's only up to 30 years, 20 years, or 10 years. And that is the type of life insurance that we get all the time at the job place. Permanent life insurance is the life insurance amount is guaranteed. So sometimes when you start to talk with people, they'll be like, oh, I have life insurance. I already have one at my job place. I'm telling you, the job place life insurance is a term life insurance. It only covers you whilst you are there. When you get off the job, it does not cover you any longer unless you do what we call COBRA. And by that time, you have advanced in age and the price will cost you a lot. But when you get your personal life insurance, such as whole life or universal life, you have opportunity to get that life insurance amount secured or guaranteed for the rest of your life. Now, sickness coverage. Let me say this. When it comes to, we have what we call old age sickness. We are all praying that God will grant us the grace to live 100 years. That is great. And I don't think that there is an issue for God giving us that 100 years to live. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves is, if God grants us the 100 years lifespan, are we going to have the health to sustain, the good health to sustain this 100 years lifespan? So as we all know, as you advance in age, such as when you get into your 75, 80, 90, medical bills become so expensive. And if you don't have a good life insurance, there are some sickness that health insurance cannot pay. Example, health insurance cannot pay stroke. Health insurance cannot pay cancer. Health insurance, when you are not able to walk, talk, eat, use the bathroom by yourself, see by yourself, hear by yourself, health insurance cannot pay. It will take life insurance to pay. Let me share this also with you. I was in North Carolina last year, and I met a family, as a matter of fact, she was a woman. She had life insurance, but she got a stroke, suffering. But the problem was that the life insurance that she had didn't have health coverage in it. So she could not benefit from the $300,000 life insurance amount. And she was suffering medication problem, bills problems. And if she had listened to, or if the agent had spoken to her, taught her about some of these insurance coverages that have sickness, I believed that would have helped her to get out or pay for the sickness that she found herself in. All right, now the next thing that you want to ask yourself is cash withdrawal. Not all of us want money. So if you don't want money, then that's okay. But if you're a kind of person that you want some kind of money to supplement your retirement account, to supplement your social security benefits, you want to ask yourself that question. So term life, you are not able to withdraw from it. When it comes to whole life, you can take it as a loan. You can take it as a loan. Universal life, you can either take it as a loan or take it as cash. Let me say it once again. On the whole life, you can take it as a loan. On the universal life, you can either take it as a loan or withdraw it as cash. Now, when it comes to payment, on the term life, it is phased. It is phased. So if you miss payment, after 30 days, it comes to an end. Whole life phased. Universal life, it is flexible. And flexible, you can suspend it, or you can suspend the payment, you can reduce it, you can increase it, you can do all that you want to do. Again, let me say this. I'm sharing this with you, not because I want you to sign up something or no. My goal is that you will understand what we have in the system so that you will choose the right or appropriate life insurance. As a matter of fact, I do provide service for all these type of insurance. I do provide service for term life insurance. I provide service for whole life insurance. I provide service for universal life insurance. But I don't choose which one you should get. My goal as a teacher, as a professional representative, I don't care. First of all, if you have, those of you who have followed me, I'm not a salesperson. My passion, my priority is the teaching. Teaching is where my priority lies. So before you even get sign off my product, there is no single person that I have enrolled into a life insurance policy or investment account or credit repairing that I have not taken the time to teach the person what the options are. So again, my goal is that you will know the options. You don't have to come through me, but whoever that you sit down with, my goal is that you will ask yourself these minimum 5 questions. Again, I said they are minimum because there are more to it. And if I am to emphasize on it, it will take the whole day. For example, when it comes to sickness coverage, there are different types of sickness that the life insurance cover and some sickness that they don't cover. So you have to also know that when it comes to cash withdrawal, you have to also know how does the investment grow in the first place. Does it grow on index strategy or phased strategy or variable strategy? So these are some of the things that you really need to know when you sit down with your financial professional. But if you add these 5 minimum questions, it will trigger or it will prompt the agent to go further and deeper to explain much better for you so that you will know what your options are. Now, for the sake of time, let me talk briefly about credit, then we open the line for questions. All right, good. Now, the CARES Act, section 4021, we are still dealing with the CARES Act. All this that you are talking about, they are all part of the CARES Act, both that we need to take advantage of. The CARES Act is more than just the stimulus check. CARES Act is more than the unemployment benefits. So section 4021 of the CARES Act deals with consumer credit protection. Consumer credit protection. As I said earlier, America, credit is a big thing. And your understanding of credit will expedite your journey to achieve financial freedom. There is no easier, faster, quicker way of achieving financial freedom in America than credit. So when the stimulus bill was passed on March 27th, the CARES Act section 421 of the CARES Act gave some protection of our credit. So the protection, the consumer credit protection, basically section 421 prohibits any negative reporting to the credit bureaus. So section 4021 of the CARES Act prohibits negative credit reporting to the credit bureaus as long as conversation has taken in place. So if you have spoken with your creditor, with your mortgage company, with your landlord, with your service provider, with your phone bill company, with your electricity company, with your credit card company, with your car auto insurance, as long as they have had this conversation, during this time, they should not report this negative into your account that will affect your credit score. Now, let me give you this. That timeline is 120 days after the emergency is over. It's 120 days after the emergency is over. So we still have time. After the emergency, we are still in the season of emergency. So 120 days after the emergency is over, no credit card company, no collection agency, no financial institutions, no banks, no hospital should ever report a negative transaction to your credit, to the credit bureaus. So I have listed down some of the negative transactions that will sometimes appear on your credit report. So the examples of these negatives are collection account, late payments, foreclosure, bankruptcies, repossessions, charge-offs, public records such as deeds. All right, with the enquiries, with a set of enquiries because of the fact that you have had that communication, so they can sometimes waive that without reporting it. So if you have any of these on your credit report, beginning of March up to 120 days after the emergency is over, you can get to the credit bureaus and get it removed and get your credit score higher So one of the ways that we do is to make sure that, by the way, you have right to always go to the credit bureaus to get your credit score, to dispute any item, any negative item on your credit report. As a matter of fact, this is the law, CARES Act, Fair Credit Reporting Act. Fair Credit Reporting Act was passed on October 26, 1970 by the federal government, giving you and I the right to dispute, the right to challenge, the right to argue any report, any negative report on our credit profile. It's just like, to better understand it, it's like a speeding ticket. If you are driving, let's say you are driving 80 miles per hour in a 30 miles per hour zone and police catches you, what the policeman would do is to give you a citation to go to court and explain yourself to the judge. In the same way, when it comes to your credit, when you default on the payment, the credit card company, the bank reporting you to the credit bureaus is not the end of it. It's not the end of it. You have right to challenge the bank, just as you have right to go to court to challenge the policeman who gave you the ticket. You also have rights to go to the credit bureaus to challenge the policeman who gave you the citation, and you explain yourself. As a matter of fact, there is no law in America, there is no law passed by Congress that when you miss payment, that you should be reported to the credit bureau. The financial institutions, the credit card companies, all this, they do that in their own discretion. So when the Fair Credit Reporting Act was passed in 1970, it gave 3 lines or 3 rules or 3 guidelines that all financial institutions must follow if they want to report anybody to the credit bureaus. As a matter of fact, if you want to repair, this is the secret of credit repair. The reason why credit repair works is because of this law. We don't do anything illegal. We don't do anything behind the scene. All that we do is we use this law. Now, for the sake of time, let me quickly go over it and say a few things, then I open the line for questions. Number one, all accounts must be 100% accurate. All accounts must be 100% verifiable. All accounts must be 100% timely. Now, again, excuse me because of time, so I'm going to quickly jump into a little about business credit, where most of us have no idea. Then I will open the line for questions. All right, good. Now, we have to understand when it comes to credit, you have to understand debt. So if you look at this scripture, 2 Kings 4:1, the wife of a man from the company of the prophet cried out to Elisha, your servant, my husband, is dead. And you know that he feared the Lord. So we are not talking about a fake pastor, a fake prophet. We are talking about a genuine man of God, a genuine believer, a genuine apostle, a genuine pastor who feared God, who worshiped God, who served God truthfully, righteously. So there was no issue with this man. Now let's look at what happened. But now his creditor is coming to take my 2 boys as his slaves. So this prophet, this genuine man of God, died in debt. All right, now look at what the man of God did. The man of God, Elisha, said to the woman, go borrow, go and borrow, go and borrow, go and borrow. We see credit over here. Go and borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels. And he says, do not borrow just a few. There are some of us have issues when it comes to credit. Some of us have issues when it comes to borrowing. Look at the strategy that the man of God, the prophet, is using to solve the financial problem of the widow. Look at the strategies that he's using. And I hope and pray that our eyes will be open to these things. It's so unfortunate that our lack of knowledge causes us to brush off all these great opportunities. Borrowing, you see, let me say this. Let me give you this principle. Borrowing is not evil. It's not sin, but it must be wise. Borrowing is not sin, it's not evil, but it must be wise. Now, when you read down that particular scripture, most of the time you get excited about the miracle and we neglect the practical concepts, the practical principles that can change and shape our life. When you go down that particular miracle, it tells Elisha specifically told the woman how she should handle the proceeds after she has gotten the money. I hope there will be a time to talk about it in much greater details. Now, so all that I want to show you over here is to let you know how you can use credit, how you can borrow money, to create wealth. So here in America, let me give you the secret. The purpose of a bank, the whole objective of a bank, the whole goal of a bank is to give consumers money. That's it. The purpose of a bank is to give you money. And as you know, here in America, the more credible you are, the more money that the bank wants to give you. When I say the purpose or the objective of a bank is to give the people money, because that's how banks make their money. Banks make their money. We know that they do other investments, but also giving money, loaning money to the people. All right. Now, how did they loan it? They give money to every person? No, they give it to people who are lendable, people who are credit worthy. Credit worthy. In other words, for you to get money, for you to make sure you have the purchasing power of credit, you have to make sure that you are credit worthy. You have built your credit worthiness. You are lendable. You are fundable. So that is the goal when it comes to credit building. So basically, we have 2 types of credit. We have the personal credit and we have business credit. We have personal credit and we have business credit. Most of the time, we all focus on personal credit, especially in our community. And if you have seen that, if someone driving a Uber doing business, he will use his credit card to buy fuel. He will use his credit card to do car maintenance. He will use his credit card to buy a vehicle, to drive Uber, doing business. So he's rather putting business expenses on credit profile, on personal credit profile. And this is a problem. Even organizations, even businesses, even including churches. You will see stories of a church, of a ministry, of organization using people's personal credit to buy church van, using people's personal credit to buy church building, using people's personal credit to buy church property. It's so sad. But if that organization will come to realization, will come to understanding that there is a business credit, there is a credit that the non-profit organization can get so that you can get the credit that you are seeking, the loan that you are seeking, the house that you are buying, the church van that you are buying. You can get it on that business credit, on that nonprofit credit. You will free yourself from all these personal credit. So our goal in our financial ministry is to build your personal credit and also build your business credit if you have a business. And the good thing is that once you build your business credit, let me say a few things about the business credit and the personal credit. Then I'll open the line for questions. You see, your personal credit is attached to your social security number. So you use your social security number to build your personal credit. So anytime you are buying a house, you are buying a vehicle, they get your social security number and they pull your credit profile. And when you are approved, they give you the loan. All right, good, perfect. When it comes to business credit, we know business, we have what we call EIN number, employer identification number, or tax ID. So just as your credit is, personal credit is linked to your social security number, your business credit is also linked to your EIN number. As you all know, most 90% of businesses, there are some sole proprietors who don't have EIN number. But if you are in business and you have EIN number and you haven't developed that credit profile, is just like a child. It's just like a child who has social security number but has not developed it yet. In other words, if you drive Uber, you can develop your EIN, you can register it if you haven't, to get your EIN number and build that business credit on your EIN number. If you drive Uber, you drive truck, you braid hair, whatever business that you are involved in, you can develop that business credit. And the good thing is that once you have your business credit built, you now have double purchasing power. Double purchasing power. You can purchase with your personal credit or you can purchase with your business credit. In other words, when you are buying your a car for Uber, you don't use your personal credit, you use the business credit. When you are buying fuel, when you are doing any mechanical work on your vehicle or anything that has to do with your business, you use your business credit. In other words, you don't overload your personal credit. So one of the good things about having the business credit is that it frees you, it makes you more, it gives you a larger opportunity, more room on your personal credit because you have shifted all the business expenses on your business credit profile. This is available to everyone. Now, last not the least, let me show you this quick. This is the last session, please. I'm so sorry for speaking too long. I'm going to pause it after this session, then we pick up some questions. All right, so the credit score, either business credit score or personal credit score, they are controlled by two payment activities. We have past payment activities and we have present payment activities. So as a credit analyst, what we do is if you want to work on your negatives on your credit report, such as late payments, we focus on repair. So the repair we do with the past activities. All right, good. When it comes to the future, those of you who don't have credit, especially business profile not built yet, we focus on the present payment activities to build that credit. So before I bring it to an end, all that I want to say this section is that you and I, we have the opportunity to build our personal credit. If your personal credit is in a situation that you don't want it to be in, you can build it up, get it higher to buy the house, to refinance the house that you have already and save money. If you have a business and you don't have credit, you can build your business as well. Now, a lot that we have covered and a lot that we didn't cover. For example, we didn't get a chance to talk about the issues of the paycheck, of the stimulus check. But if you have questions, you can ask. So I'm going to pause a moment and use the next 5-10 minutes to pick up questions that you may have. So at this time, I'm going to hand over to our district pastor to guide us in the question. May God bless you all. Hallelujah.
Amen. Thank you very much, Deacon Chris. Very, very awesome presentation. I want to thank you one more time. Yeah, Carol, are there some questions?
Yes, there's some questions right here. So
Okay,
the
good.
first question asks, will you guys do any other financial classes like Dave Ramsey's financial class?
All right, good. So if this asking if you would do any other financial classes like what Dave Ramsey, right? Okay, Dave Ramsey's financial peace class. All right,
Yes.
excellent. I love that question. Okay, good. As we all know, so basically our brother or our sister is asking if there will be a financial class, an ongoing class. All right, good. What I would say is that Dave Ramsey started somewhere and he has gotten somewhere. Yeah, he did not start at the level that he's operating right now. So the class, the financial class, has been one of my visions that I really want to do. I really want to set it up. So it will eventually come, but not at this time. So right now, what we are now doing is just seminar or one-on-one mentoring, just like this one. If you have any question, I will give you my number, then you can call, then we can mentor you. But that financial classes is on the pipeline, and eventually you will see it live in Khaled. All right, good. Question number 2.
Mm-hmm.
What is the basis of receiving a maximum $823 unemployment benefit? Who can receive the maximum? Is it depend? Let me remove the video. Okay. All right. So is it dependent on your gross or take-home income? All right, great question. All right, so the $823, the maximum unemployment benefit that the state of Massachusetts give, it has nothing to do with your gross income or your take-home income. Basically, the insurance contribution came from the taxes that your employer paid on your payroll, on your wages. So the more money you earn, the more money that the employer pays on your behalf. So this is what I'm glad that you brought up this question, because some people have issues about the fact that some people are getting more on unemployment benefit than those who are working. So let me give you 2 scenarios. Let's say person A has a job that pays $5,000 a week. Yes, it's possible. We can make $5,000 a week. All right, and person B has a job that pays $500 a week. All right, good. So someone received $5,000 a week, someone received $500 a week. Now, if their employer will pay a percentage, an equal percentage on these wages that they are receiving. Now, remember, because one is receiving higher money, $5,000 a week, his employer pays more into the unemployment insurance than the person receiving $500 a week. So when the person who is receiving $5,000 a week, if he loses his job and he applies for unemployment benefit, he is likely to get up to the maximum, which will be $800 a week. So when that person is receiving the maximum $800 a week, which is higher than person B, who is still working, making $500 a week, most of the time, person B gets angry. Person B gets annoyed because person A doesn't go to work, but is getting $800 a week. You shouldn't get angry. You should work on yourself. You should upgrade your skills and make more money so that your employer will put in more on your behalf. In other words, the reason why some people make more money or get up to the $823 unemployment benefits is because their employer puts in so much money. All right, good. So I hope I've addressed question number 2. Question number 3. During this pandemic, is there any way my rent payment amount can be reduced? Is there any benefit for me who is renting apart from payment being deferred? All right, great. So the provision that the CARES Act gives is not a reduce of the rent, not a reduce of the mortgage, but rather able to defer the payment. Now, let me say this. This was in the bill that was passed as of March 27th. The bill that they are voting on right now, it has already passed by Democrat Congress. They are now voting in the Senate by the Republicans control Senate. So if it gets passed, there is already a provision in the rent and mortgage payment. So I don't want to jump into it because it has not been approved yet. By tomorrow or Monday going, we will know what the Republicans, if the Republicans don't water it down and it gets approved, then hallelujah, there will be extra benefits going into our rent and mortgage payments. But for now, based on the March bill, CARES Act, the only provision is to defer the payment. You don't get any benefit for continuing to pay. All right, good. Number 4, please, are we going to get a second stimulus check for 6 months? And when is that one coming? All right, great. So this also falls on the bill that Senate, Republicans control Senate are still going to vote on. So as at now, before this presentation, it had not been passed by Congress, by Senate yet. So after it has been passed by Senate, now the president has to sign. So as at now, I would say no, but things can change. If it gets passed by the Senate, Republicans control Senate, and the president signed it into law, then the second round stimulus check, which is also $600, and as at now, when it was passed by Democrats, it's up to $6,000 per household. So if it passed through the Senate, then each household will be getting up to $6,000. So we are just looking what the Republicans will do in their voting. Then also the president will be the final person to sign. All right, good. Any other question? I think that answers question number 4, if I have.
That was the last question.
Okay, so on my side here, I have a few questions I want to pose to you.
Sure, Pastor.
Yes, the first one has to do with the withdrawal from the 401k or the retirement fund. Can you speak a little bit to that in terms of the process that one can, take to or go through to withdraw his money?
All right, great. Thank you so much. Now, the 401k account TSP, most of the time, the direct person that we have usually is our HR, because they always work directly with these investment companies. So they are those that actually initiate. Once you give them the authorization, they will pass the directives to the financial institution and they'll continue to take the percentage that you authorize. So the best way to get or withdraw money from this, if you don't have access to the company, if you have already established a relationship where you have created an account, you already can access the account online. Now, what you need to do is to call the company directly, and they will go through the verification process, and you will tell them what you want to do. All right, good. And they all know that, yeah, there are some, let me say this. If you have followed the trend, you saw that the state of Massachusetts and all the 50 states, they didn't just jump in to open up the pandemic unemployment assistance. They went through some transitions because it came up suddenly. The same thing applies to all these financial institutions. Once you call them, some of the financial institutions, they are yet to implement the conditions and the policies in place. So some of them will tell you that it's not ready yet, that you can withdraw without a penalty. But many of them have already implemented it. And as a matter of fact, about 3 people have already withdrawn theirs and they have actually shared their experience with me. So if you already have created online access, you can call the company directly. But if you have not created online access, you don't even know that some people who have no idea about the company that controls their 401k account. What you can do is to call your HR, and your HR will help you to get access to the company. And once you call them, you can let them know what you want to do. Amen.
Thank you very much. Yeah, second question here. Under the value preservation of your money, you talked about some investment portfolios. And I wanted you to highlight a little bit or explain more about the index account, specifically the IUL, the VUL, and then the maybe special life policy. Those.
All right.
If you can
Thank you so much. So preserving the value, basically, we picked it up from the parable of the 3 talents. The third servant who did nothing and went and hid the money, the master told him, the master told him, you should have deposited the money with the bankers. All right, good. Now, this is what happened. Once you put your money in the closet, once you dig a hole on the ground and put the money over there, you lose its value because of inflation. You don't preserve money, the value of money, by putting it in a closet, by putting it in the jar box. You lose its value because of inflation. Now, the way to preserve its value is to give it to lenders, give it to investors, give it to banks that will add interest rate to it, and the interest rate will offset the inflation rate. So in that case, the interest rate pays off the inflation, then you will be at square zero. So that is the way of preserving the value. That is doing the minimum. The minimum at all is savings. Put it in a savings account. Now, if you put it in the checking account, you are going to lose its value because of inflation. Now, the next step is CD. I'm going it step by step.
Right,
We're talking about in terms of security, not worrying about losing the money. The next step is about CD. The CD, depending the certificate of deposit, depending the banks that you are doing it, you can get as much as 1% or 1.5. All right, good. Then after CD, you can also think about bonds. Bonds, you give the money or you buy the bonds, and there's a special agreement about 6 months or 6 years, whatever that duration will be. At the end of it, they pay you, and also together with the interest. Now we talk about the index crediting strategy or index crediting strategy investment vehicle. The way that it works is just like a range. The best way to explain it is see it as a range of interest rates, 2 ranges, 2 interest rates of a range. You have the minimum that can be as low as 1% or 0.1% or 0%. So that minimum, it acts as a floor rate. They call it floor rate or protection rate. And the job of that minimum, again, it can be 0% or 0.1%, 0.01%, whatever percentage that it is, as long as it's not negative, it serves as a protection or guarantee rate. So anytime the market falls negative, like right now, that the market is on a free fall, you are guaranteed to receive that minimum interest rate. So if the company is offering you 0.1 floor rate, when the market crash, people getting 0%, now you will get 0.1%, so you make money. Now we have the second rate. The second rate is called the cap rate. The cap rate is the maximum in which you can get the money, in which the financial institution can pay the interest rate on. So some companies can give as much as 14% cap rate. So when things are going well, instead of getting the 2% or 1%, you can earn as much as 14%. So in that scenario, it does not matter how the economy performs, your money will still grow. You don't lose money at all because you have a floor rate that prevents you from losing money, and you have a cap rate that helps you to make money. Now, when it comes to IUL, what IUL product, what they have done is that IUL stands for Index Universal Life. Index Universal Life, and VUL also stands for Value Added Universal Life. All right, good. So what they have done is that they took that index crediting strategy as an investment vehicle and inserted into a universal life insurance. Universal life insurance. So that life insurance, IUL insurance that you are getting, it has a complete its own investment vehicle that operates on index crediting strategy. It's not a fixed rate. When it comes to whole life, it's just a fixed rate, about 2% or 3% that they will give you. But IUL, they picked up the index crediting strategy vehicle and insert it into the life policy. So they invest a chunk of your money. So let's say you get the universal life insurance that has the IUL built in it, or IUL life insurance of $200 that you'll be paying on a monthly basis. Of that $200, about 130, 120, 150, depending on your age, on other medical factors, that amount will be invested for you on index crediting strategy. So at the end of the year, depending on how the market performs, you get credited. And some of the companies can credit you as much as 14% when things are going well. And when things are going really bad, you can get as low as 0.25. When you are getting the 0.25%, keep in mind that other people are already losing money. So these are the different strategies that are built in the index crediting strategy that you all can take advantage of. Amen.
Amen. Carol, do you have any further questions? Carol?
Yes, yes, there are a few more questions. I'm adding them right now.
Okay, you continue from there. I have some questions here though. You continue.
So the first one, since the 401k has no withdrawal penalty, is it advisable to use that to pay a student loan?
All right, great. So this is what we want to look at it. I spoke about 3 ways that you can withdraw 401k to make it more effective use. All right. The second one, I spoke about debt and credit building. So if I'm using, first of all, before I talk about it, let me pass this forward quickly. This is opportunity for us to get ahead. The whole secret of these things is for you to get ahead. In other words, you shouldn't be the same after COVID-19 is gone. And if you are using your 401k to put into an account, the account that you are going to use to pay it off, the question is it going to help you to get ahead, or you will still be the same? So while it is, remember, you're the student loan, one of the provisions is to suspension of the student loan payment, especially if it's backed by federal. Private student loans, they've also made provisions that you don't have to make the payment right now. So I will not advise anybody, because I will not do it, but if you want to do it, fine. I will not put my 401k money and pay student loan, especially if that is not going to get me ahead. I will rather put it into an account that will help me to generate money. This is not to say that don't use it to pay a loan. No, 2 different things here. I can take 401k money to pay my house loan, and the house will be free. No money, no loan on it. And I can just refinance this house, take a chunk of money after the house market is over, and make money. This is wealth creation. So remember, I'm using it to pay a loan, but this time it's a completely different loan. So if the student loan is not going to help me to get ahead, why should I put money into it? But however, if you think it will help you to get ahead, then you can go ahead and put it into student loan. Number 2, if you have a credit card bill that was written off through, let me take off the camera so that I can see the question. Okay, good. You have a credit card bill that was written off through taxes by the company. Do you still have to pay the debt? All right, great. Do you have to still pay off the debt? Now, there is a difference between writing off and still paying the debt. The only way you can avoid paying off the debt is the debt has passed the Statute of Limitation Act. Now, if you look at the, if you paid attention to the presentation, because of time, I didn't go much in depth. The CARES Act that was passed in 1970 gave specific guidelines, and one of the guidelines is that for an account to still be collectible, for the consumer should still pay the debt, that account must be within the statute of limitation. The statute of limitation, basically, every state has 8 number of years in which a debt can be collected or can be 100% forgiven. And until that time has passed, the creditor can still come after you for the money. So the simplest question that I want to give you is that as long as it's within the statute of limitation, you have to pay the debt. But if it's outside the statute of limitation, you don't have to pay the debt now because has now expired. Now the next one, if you have majority of your investment in variable, is it profitable or advisable? Moving to the phased, all right, good. Now, look at what is going on right now. If all that we have heard over and over, do not put all your eggs in one basket. Scripture also tells us, do not let your hands be idle day and night, meaning talking about allocation, diversification. So I don't see any profitability here to put all your investment in one vehicle, such as variable. I personally, I have variable, I have index, and also phased, and that is what I encourage. I don't encourage putting all your money into 401k or variable index crediting alone. Number 4, what is your advice on student loan co-signing? All right, great. Now, scripture talks against that, co-signing. First of all, when it comes to student loan, I wish there will be a time, the youth, Pastor, you can pass it on. I'll be more than happy to have a session on student loan where we can go in depth. You don't ever go for private student loan when there is a federal student loan available. So when you talk about co-signing, first of all, you are thinking about private student loan. Government student loan, federal student loan, you don't need co-signing. So before you think about co-signing, just take advantage of federal student loan. Unless you have some residential issue or green card citizen issue and you want to go with private student loan, then that is fine. But if you can take them loan without co-signing, that is the best way. I don't encourage anyone to add a co-signing to a student loan because, first of all, let me say this, student loan is the worst debt in America. The worst debt in America is student loan. Of all the loans, every loan in America can be written off, can be forgiven, except student loan, unless you are dead or disabled. So we don't encourage adding more people to it to burden them. All right, number 5, if you working 2 jobs and you quit 1 job, can you apply for unemployment? The answer is yes. Under pandemic unemployment assistance, we have what we call reduced income. So once you lose 1 job, your income has been affected by COVID-19. So you can apply for that benefit. Number 6, can you please talk more about the 1,400 unemployment benefit? Oh, basically the 1,400, basically you get the maximum state unemployment benefit, which is $800, and the federal government add the $600 to it, 4 plus 6 making 1,004. All right, good. So with the 1,400, you'll be able to receive it every week. All right, good. As I'm speaking right now, Pastor, this drops in my heart that since it came through your presentation of, I've done, if you have been following me, a lot of this presentation, but nobody ever asked about ongoing classes. So as I'm speaking right now, it has become heavy on my heart that you should pass it on to Pastor. That Pastor, if you ever want to organize these financial classes for your people, for our people, I am ever ready. I'm ready to get on it. So you can have that discussion with the people. All right, good. All right, number 7. Will I be charged interest on taking my own 401k money? All right, great. So as of now, if you take money throughout the end of the year, there is no any penalty at all. You don't pay any 10% penalty at all. The only thing that you have to pay will be the taxes. And the taxes, you can also spread it in 3 years. All right, good. So, but after COVID-19, things can go back to normal. All right, number 8. Please, I applied for unemployment benefits and they paid only 1 week, and the remaining 3 weeks I applied, and the remaining 3 weeks I applied is on hold. So please, does the hold means they have denied or they have denied me or not? Not necessarily the case. So number one, when it comes to unemployment benefit, it's one thing to be approved. It's completely different to get access or to request for the money. So you have to request the money before they pay you, or you have to go through the questionnaire that they ask you before they can release the money. If you have done that and it's still on hold, the chances are the money that your employer paid has been exhausted, and they are now figuring it a way to continue to pay you up to the time that you get back to work. So that could be one of the reasons. And another reason, there could be some system issue, or the system has to be updated, or there are several factors that can explain why you are not getting it. But I would suggest that you will contact them. Right now, it's very difficult to get them over the phone, but one of the easy ways to get them is through email. Through email, you can get them. All right, good. I think that is the last question.
Yeah, I'll ask a last question here, or probably even more. This has to do with life insurance policy.
Sure.
Assuming that you have a life insurance policy which has no inbuilt element of loan or cashback, okay, is there a possibility of converting that particular life insurance policy into a different one that has the inbuilt loan facility and cashback withdrawal with the same insurance company or even a different insurance company?
All right, great question. All right, so one of the reasons that we convert to another policy is to make sure that the cash that we have built is carried on to the next policy that we are getting. Now, if the insurance that you already have doesn't have a cash value that can be taken along, there is nothing like converting to the other, because it does not have cash value in it anyway. That will help you to take it along. And the life insurance amount, excuse me to say, you are still alive, so there's no way that they will give it to you. So the only way that you do it is if you have what we call COBRA. On the job, you have what you call COBRA. You can convert it into personal, but you don't take any benefit with you. You're going to start the benefit all over. Now, the good thing is that because you already have insurance, it makes your insurability more plausible. You don't have to. There are some companies that will just go ahead and approve you without any medicals, given the fact that you already had insurance in place. But if it doesn't have any cash value in it, you don't have to worry about conversion. You just get the new life insurance, and the new life insurance, you want to make sure that it has all the cash value that you are hoping for. And again, you have been educated about it. Just as I said, there are more to it. There are many people who have gotten life insurance and they have no idea what it entails. All right, good. Now, as soon as you get your new one, the old one, you can decide either to keep it or to cancel it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let me ask you this last two-in-one question.
Sure, Pastor.
All right. So if you can throw more light on the pandemic unemployment assistance given to the businesses or those who are unable to start their businesses, is there any cutoff period? Okay. And then also the COVID-19 Act or the CARE Act. I know that for most of the businesses, the cutoff date is February 15th. Is it still the same or they have shifted it?
Is it still the same or they have the last one?
Or they have changed it?
They have changed it. All right. Thank you so much, Pastor. So, okay, great. So when it comes to the pandemic unemployment benefit, the first question, it was passed through the CARE Act, giving eligibility to self-employed, sole proprietors who didn't have employers to contribute into their unemployment insurance so that they can get that benefit. Now, what some states are doing is that some states are giving up to 50% of the maximum amount that the state approves. Then they will add the the federal $600 to it and give it to you. In other words, a state where you pay state taxes and that kind of thing, they can look at how much the state will approve you, looking at your documents that you will submit. When you are applying for the pandemic unemployment, you have to establish that you have been affected by COVID-19. So among the reasons, one, you have to stay home to take care of your children. Two, because of COVID-19. Your job was closed down because of COVID-19. Three, you have to park your vehicle as a Uber driver, as a forklift, as a Lyft driver because of COVID-19. All right, so if you are self-employed, you will have to submit 1099 documents. You'll have to submit or Schedule C or your taxes to justify the money that you were making in 2019. And that money, they can look at it and approve you the state allowed benefit. Once the state approves you the benefit, the federal government will add the $600 to it that you received every week. All right. Now, when it comes to the loan, the PPP and IDL, as of March, when the CARES Act was passed, the cut-off date was February 15th. But they knew there hasn't been any change. But if the new one that they are voting right now, there's going to be a change. Nobody knows for sure. And there has been a constant changing of these policies. So if there has been a change also, nobody knows about it. You can go online and read from the SBA or the lender that is processing it. If there has been a recent change, they will let you know. But what I know of, the cutoff date is February 15th. As long as you were in business, beginning of February 15th, you will be able to apply for these loans. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much once again, our Deacon Chris Tofi, for being such a resourceful person in regard of this CARE Act. Hopefully, I do believe that we're going to have a part 3, given to this question.
Hallelujah.
Questions that came. I'm sure that there are more questions. I still have some questions here, but we want to draw the curtains on tonight's program just because of the time. Definitely, we're going to have the online classes, financial classes. At least if even it's once a month or twice a month, it will be a great start. Yes, we're going to start with you. So prepare yourself for that.
Sure.
We'll give you a new date for the part 3 of this presentation as the situation may demand. Once again, on behalf of the Boston District COP, we say God richly bless you. Definitely, you are part of us, and we shall continually do business together as far as these presentations are concerned. I want to offer a word of prayer before we exit this medium. Father, we thank you, God, once again for the knowledge you have brought to us. We pray that, Father, it will not just be just receiving of knowledge, but may this knowledge received lead to a transformation in our lives. We are trusting the Lord God will become more prudent in the area of our finances. Father, give us the enablement to do what we ought to do in order to take care of our businesses, our children, the family, and the church. I want to pray, my God, our Lord, you continually anoint our deacon, give him more knowledge and insight into these financial areas, that we'll be able to do more presentations, even as and when the situation may demand. We thank you as we retire to our beds. Lord, reveal yourself unto us, preserve us, O God, protect us, O God, from every vicissitude, from this viral infection. My Lord, may we live to see tomorrow. We give you the praise, we give you the adoration. In your name have we prayed. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
God bless you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah. And Pastor, if you can put my contact on the various platforms so that those who want to call me to ask one-on-one question, they could also do that. Yeah. So you can share my contact with the church. All right. Thank you so much. And I also appreciate the opportunity. May God bless you all.
Amen.
Amen.